Anyway, what show are we doing, Heather?
All right, here we go, guys, for realsies.
For realsies.
Game face.
Okay.
This is a game face.
It's on. Like
Hi,
Donkey
everyone, and
Kong.
welcome to part 3 of episode 2 of H&H's Off Hours podcast program thing. And I am Heather, and Chris is here, and Jen, and Megan.
Hi.
And we are still talking obsessions, and we are off with Chris. Chris, what is your current obsession?
Okay, so book-wise, it's going to be incredibly unexciting for our readers. I'm doing Stephen Erickson's The Malazan, God damn it, Malazan Books of the Fallen. It is high fantasy, and it has a hell of a lot of accent marks and random places, so it's going to be really hard to say. But
I'm just going to say, and also it's part 3 of our program now, and so we're all getting a little loopy and or drunk, so bear with us.
yeah, a little drunk. It's part 3, or God, it's part 5 of the series that I'm currently on, and they're all about 1,200 to 1,300 pages, give or take. And if you like Game of Thrones, and you want something that's more sprawling and meandering,
Exactly! That is exactly what I've been looking for.
if you sat down and said, I'm reading Game of Thrones, I want something more.
I just
It's
wish
not
it, didn't-
enough for me.
it wasn't so quick and speedy.
This isn't fast enough for me. I want something with more detail. Then Steven Erickson is for you.
And Chris, how long is this book? Is this the same one that you've been talking about all week?
No, the one that I was talking about previously was 1,200 pages. That was Midnight. No, that was the Bone Hunters. And this one is Toll the Hounds? Maybe? I don't know. They're all blending together, but this is the epic of epic fantasy. I think Steven Erickson is a anthropologist by trade, and he just loves world building. Like, there have been whole books that have just completely deviated Yeah, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, I'm reading that right now, and I'm obsessed with that, but I'm not going to get into that because it has absolutely no romance, and it's all about gods playing chess with mortals. That's
Is it actually about gods playing chess with mortals?
Like
kind
literally?
of.
Does it have a hero or any relationships in it?
No.
How can you read something with no relationships?
Yeah, Chris.
I don't understand that at all.
That brings me to my next thing.
Oh, you have 2 obsessions then?
Well, my other obsession right now, I'm currently fully into this whole gaming series. It's called Dead Space. And Dead Space is a horror game, or horror series, set in a sci-fi universe where you have a hero that's going into this world that pretty much there's this alien artifact called the Marker, and it reanimates dead things into these horrifying monsters that are pretty much space zombies that have these claws that come out of their shoulders like that. And so anyway, that gets me into this series. All right, that's my current obsession. But it led me to this whole question about romance. All right.
Oh boy.
So the driving
Here we go.
force. No, yeah, the driving
This is why we
force.
make the big bucks, right?
Yeah, publishing makes big money. So the main character is called Isaac Clarke. He's an engineer, he's this super genius engineer that some point in his career he just he's like a genius, but he just stopped caring. All right, he just
Like House?
Yeah, like House.
Manhattan?
Like what?
Dr. Manhattan?
No, not quite like that, because Dr. Manhattan saw everything but then stopped caring. Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen. But this guy, he's more like House. He's he can solve every problem, but he doesn't see a point.
Mm.
He's just I could just make money and fix engines. And that's pretty much what he does. He's this genius engineer that turns around and says, I'm just going to work the sci-fi equivalent of a space mechanic. Okay, but in the first game, his girlfriend is a doctor. All right, I think she's a doctor. She might be a nurse, but he encourages her to take a job on this spaceship that's on its like last mission. It's kind of like the whole Galactica thing where it's one last mission before it gets retired. All right, and this happens to
Because
be the
that
mission.
can't end well.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. It's this whole and during this mission that the space monsters they like this spaceship finds the marker, and the marker reanimates it all like it's drives people crazy. The first thing it does is drive you crazy and makes you want to commit suicide. Then once you're dead, it turns your dead body into a monster, and then you just go around killing things. So yeah, I mean it's standard horror stuff. And so he finds out that his girlfriend's ship is derelict. So he volunteers for the mission to go save his girlfriend's ship. And so the whole driving force behind Isaac is his relationship, right?
Mhm.
I mean, he wants to save his girlfriend. That's the main thing. That's the main theme. And right now there are 3 games in the series, and that's the main driving force between every game. So there are a couple of media tie-ins. Yeah. So and they all every media tie-in has to do with some sort of relationship. Either it's two brothers or it's a guy and a woman. It's always a relationship driving force behind this series. And it made me think about this whole thing. What is the role of horror and romance? Can you have both? Are they mutually exclusive? Like, again, going back to things that are popular right now, which is The Walking Dead. Uh, uh,
Oh.
yeah, it's the big
Ooh.
compendium. It's this actually is the compendium one. It covers everything that's in the TV show right now. But we see in Walking Dead where we see Daryl and Carol, we see Rick and Lori, and those are both two relationships in this whole horror setting where everything is going to hell. There's all these monsters around, and it's scary. I mean, it's legitimately scary. It's legitimately gory. But does that have a place in romance? And that's where I'm taking my obsession to the experts.
Well, it's and I feel like there's a bit of a blurry line because there's also the dystopian, which is really popular right now,
Mm.
and like there's tons of romance set in that kind of universe now, and in the post-apocalyptic type universe. I like it because I feel like when it's life or death, like that just raises stakes even more, and it makes the romance like that much more heightened. So like I loved Hunger Games. I didn't love the last one. Loved Hunger Games. I loved Divergent. And Chris, I think you were going to mention Girl of Nightmares too.
Oh yes, that
Kendara
was
Blake.
another thing.
I
Kendara
just finished this
Blake's.
today, and
Yeah.
oh my god, I loved it. I loved it so much. And this is like this is really interesting because it's unlike Divergent. I feel like Divergent is based more on the relationships, and it just happens to be set in like this dystopian universe type thing. Versus like this is like an actual horror story that just happens to have like a romantic subplot
But
kind of
it
thing.
doesn't. But it doesn't. I don't think it's fair to say that. I mean, Girl of Nightmares is a sequel in a 2-book series.
Yeah.
The first book is Anna Dressed in Blood. It's a YA. I don't think it's fair to say that series. It's one of my favorite book series that's come out in like the past 5 years. Um, it's a 2-book series, yeah. But I don't think it's fair to say that it's a horror story that happens to be about a relationship because the driving force behind Anna Dressed in Blood is the relationship. I would say.
Yeah, that's
Just like,
true.
yeah.
That's true. But like to me, I guess I just mean it because to me it's kind of like supernatural. It's very like supernaturally the show Supernatural.
Yeah.
And that's why we start following Chad because of his story with Anna. But to me, it just felt like that the 2-book series. It just feels more like a horror novel than anything I've written that's like romancy. And I felt like I was reading a horror novel, and that there just happened to be like this romantic aspect to it.
Well, it also made me think of. I know this will get to Jen, Doctor Who, and the last episode of The Pawns where the Crying Angels, which is a main.
Oh
Yeah, last accent. I'm sorry. The one means we're talking about spoilers. So, Doctor Who, the last episode of the
I feel like
Ponds.
it's a candlelight vigil and or E.T.
Yeah.
But the last episode of the Ponds has to do with the Crying Angels, and the Crying Angels are very easily a horror subplot, right, Jen?
They could be, although honestly,
Maybe
if
take
I
it down
were,
because
yeah,
right.
honestly, if I were to be killed by a weeping angel, that's the Doctor Who villain I would want to be killed by because you live to death. So I mean, it has it definitely does have more of the horror elements to it because it incites fear and panic. You can't not look at them, otherwise they'll come after you. So it does have that panic element that you get with horror. So I do see where you're coming from.
I think it's
from
like
there.
with Anna, it's like the atmosphere, and maybe that's what it is. It's real. I feel like I've read other romances that have I don't know, maybe there's a ghost or something, but it's never the whole atmosphere of the book hasn't felt like it's haunted and creepy. And Anna Dressed in Blood, I feel like you the ghosts were everywhere. That was his life. You were so immersed in it. And in book 2, this is a big spoiler. I mean, he spends the whole focus of the book is focused on Anna is in hell, and he literally goes in after her. And I mean, I feel like that would not normally be the plot in a YA romancy type thing. So,
but if I can say what I think I said in the first time we met, I think everything has a romance. And I think that you have to care. You have to have your characters care about something enough to make them make an effort. Whether it's anything, whether it's doing their job, like Philip Marlowe in The Maltese Falcon, or in this case, getting Anna out of hell, right? He cares enough about her to do it, and that's a romance. That's, otherwise you just have people that don't care, that are nihilistic, and then you've got an Ionesco play or something that is a totally different genre that we don't get as invested in because it's a much more cerebral experience, but where you really care about something as if the characters care about something, and that's a relationship, and that's usually love, no matter what its iteration. So I think that Chris, what you're saying is horror can have romance just like anything can have romance, and everything does have romance because you care about things.
But what I was getting at, can romance have horror? Can romance, we talked, on the site we cover romantic suspense, where you have people having sex while getting shot at by terrorists or something like that.
That's my first thought.
So can you is there room in this genre for a subgenre? Just for one more time. Is there room for a whole other category of horror romance where the relationship is still important? Going back to Dead Space, which is what my current obsession is, Isaac is trying to save his girlfriend from all these monsters. That is his main driving force. I mean, I don't know, because y'all have told me before. Is there a
Dead Space fandom, Chris?
I don't know. I've never researched it.
I would think that yes, anything that has anything about people and personalities and emotions has room for romance. Even if the romance ends up doomed, even if it's nihilistic in spots, anything has romance.
I mean, if paranormal romance can work, I don't see why horror.
So,
Yeah.
Megan brought up a good point, because I just wrote that article on Harry Dresden, and oh crap, I forget, Torfl, I think, Torrfl, the user.
No, it's Tori. Tori Benson.
Is that Tori Benson? I didn't know
that's Tori Benson.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tori Benson in the post commented that she doesn't foresee a happy ending for Harry Dresden, which is from the Dresden Files. Is that okay in romance? I mean, is it okay?
That's not okay in romance, but it's okay in urban fantasy.
Well, let's just say
romance.
Romance readers. Is it okay? You get the impression that romance readers demand an AGA. So
no.
If
I've gotten that impression.
In the genre,
if it's romance, yes.
Yeah. If it's straight up romance.
HEA or HFM.
What's HFM?
Happy for Now.
Oh, HFN.
Yeah, which
Okay.
is, for like erotica or menage or whatever stories.
Well,
yes, of course, in the genre, you want, just like in fantasy, you want the respectable world building. In romance, you want the HEA, and that's a basic tenet of the genre. But I think we'd all be okay if we're reading outside of genre and we read that Harry doesn't get a happy ending.
well, that's what, like, I.
Is that an unhappy ending?
Spoiler alert.
No, is that an unhappy ending?
It's like
I gotta
it's
say,
happy and unhappy.
I gotta say that is one of the most satisfying endings that
Like
I've
it
ever
had to end that
experienced
way.
to a
It had to end
series.
that way.
Yes.
Like I was depressed, but I was
Oh.
like, it had to end that way.
But okay, so
I hate reading stories that don't have happy endings.
going back to Tori Benson's comment about Harry Dresden, like I felt sad that she thought that Harry wasn't going to get a happy ending.
Chris is a shipper. Oh my god.
No, I easily.
Yeah.
I mean, Harry has been through hell. Okay.
You're a shipper. You ship it.
No, but I don't care who he ends
Don't
up
we
with.
all ship it? Everything? We all
Yeah,
ship
we
everything.
all do at some point. But like I got it. Like Mass Effect is another gaming series that I've played and I absolutely love, and I do read fan fiction for that. But you get to this point where you get so attached to a character that you want them to have a happy ending, and at some point, you know that character, like Harry, for example, in Dresden Files, there's a good chance that he may have to sacrifice himself for the happiness of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that, but you really don't want to. So at what point is that going to break you? Like, if you are so attached to this hero that's recurring, like Harry, for example.
That's why I still can't talk about season 4 of BSG. I'll just say that.
Well, let's talk about something.
I think that
something that we're all attached to.
I think if it has a believable story arc throughout it, even if it's unpleasant choices that you wouldn't have wished on the character, you're okay with it. Like Heather, you can answer for BSG. If Kara had done something consistent with her character for the previous 3 seasons that you still didn't like, you would be okay with it because she would have remained true to her character. It's the fact that they altered her character, and for example, in Lost Girl, Kirsten's been talking about how they're seem to be rewriting the Doctrine, even though actually I disagree, and we had a conversation on Twitter about it. If it's against type, if it's against character, or Jen, Doctor Who, like if Doctor Who suddenly did something totally wacky that gave him a happy ending, you wouldn't be happy.
Right.
Because it wouldn't be him. And it's all remaining true to your character, so we're all okay if the endings are consistent.
So that begs the question, Heather, or Megan and Jen, do you think the Doctor is destined for a bad ending? Because wasn't it like somewhere in the lore that a Doctor can only have 11 regenerations like a Time Lord can?
Yeah.
Jen, I'll leave this to you, Jen, because I'm not nearly as Doctor Who-y as you are.
Okay, that is in the lore of the Doctor, that he can only have 11 regenerations, which means he would be done and his capabilities would be up. But I think that they never foresaw how far the series is going to go. And so I think that they're going to do some TV magic and make that, explain that somehow, because they haven't.
Or would there be
like, how do you measure time in a Time Lord's time? Right?
Would there be another Time Lord, though, or is he the only one?
He's the last
He's
of
the
the
last.
Time Lords.
Yeah, he's the last.
But there's been foreshadowing for the last 2 seasons. 11 has popped up in a lot of different documents, and like you see it in like I think there's like a plaque on the wall in some tomb or something like that has 11, and like 11 keeps popping up. So I think they are going to try and explain it somehow.
So is it like the I'm not familiar with the 11th Doctor, because really Christopher Eccleston was my favorite and David Tennant was a second, and
wow,
Chris,
I feel like you're in the minority there, isn't it?
I am. I really am.
Yeah, he really is.
Is this like the what was that thing during Christopher Eccleston's time? It was like Bad Dog or
Bad Wolf.
Bad Wolf. Is it
Yeah.
like that thing where it just keeps popping up in the episodes?
Yeah, it popped up in a lot of the ones leading up to the end of the Pond arc and the end of the River Song, or not the end of the River Song arc, but like
Is River Song over? Because I
no,
loved
no,
her
no,
arc.
she's not. But I mean, like her storyline, her major storyline,
Mm.
is definitely not over, but part
What
of
is
it
that
was
sound?
finalized.
I
Huh?
think
What
someone's
is that
moving
sound?
around or eating something.
Oh, I'm playing with this thing. Maybe
Oh,
that's
yeah,
That's
that's your
causing.
you.
microphone.
Oops! It keeps falling out of my ear, so I just
Jen
started playing
Profit,
with
the
it.
microphone king.
Ah.
It's okay. So,
Sorry. So yeah. It's been popping up the last like season and a half.
so the Doctor doesn't, for you, like as a fan of Doctor
Yeah.
Who, does he need an HEA? Or would you be happy with him sacrificing himself for his friends?
Yes. Because it would
To
be.
which?
The second, the latter.
Oh yeah, to the latter. I would be fine with him sacrificing himself to save his friends
That's who he is.
because that's who he is. He has a track record of being like, screw destiny. I'm supposed to die on this beach. That's not gonna happen. Like I'm gonna figure out a loophole. Yeah, I put up the one because that
I love
that
how
is.
it's become this like sign of support now. That we're like, we support you in your spoiler.
But,
Yes.
okay, so Jen, let me ask you this. Like I was saying before, like I'm really wanting Harry to have, like Harry to get a break because he gives and
Right.
gives and gives and gives and gives and gives.
Yeah.
And I really want him to have a break. I know that I would be happy with him dying to save his friends because I know that's what Harry would do.
Right.
Yep.
But I really want him to not have to die.
Yeah. I
Would-
think that's
are
how
you
I
the
feel
same
about
way?
the Doctor.
Starbuck and Apollo, I wanted one of them to die for the other, which is not a happy ending, but I knew they weren't going to get
Oh.
a happy ending.
So you wanted one of them to die for the
Well,
other.
I didn't want that, but I had a feeling that they weren't going to get a happy ending, and I was okay with that because they were supposed to be star-crossed lovers from the very beginning, and I was fine with that. And so, like, literally, like, the whole, like, it was, I think it was, like, a week between the first part of the series finale, and then the second part was, like, a two-part or whatever. So, like, that whole week, I was like, oh, God, I just feel like one of them could die in that final battle.
Wait, were you watching in real time?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful. It was
That must have been terrible.
There were
You can take down the
tears.
one. We're not
for
really
days.
talking about anything right now.
But anyway, so yeah, I would have been fine with like deaths and stuff, especially if they had like sacrificed the
But
other.
I
I would have
don't-
thought that was incredibly romantic,
I just, like,
but true to
I
their
mean,
characters. Yeah.
I don't know if I would be fine with it.
I think that's how the Doctor is going to end. I think, yeah, and I think that I'm fine with that because, like Megan said, like it goes along with his character.
Mm-hmm.
You
I know,
know, like he is devoted to his friends and his companions, and so he will sacrifice himself for the greater good.
I think that Dresden is going to have a happy ending, honestly. I think he's going to find a partner because I think it's a very different kind of series than Doctor Who, but I think
Yeah.
Doctor Who is going to ultimately sacrifice himself for his friends.
I know. I have a
Because we
hard
haven't had
time.
those glimmers of romantic stuff happening, except for with River Song, and their trajectory is, So.
Yeah. And
Well,
then
see-
before that with Rose, but even that
Right.
is doomed. We don't want to see the Doctor happy as far as
No,
that
That's
series
sad
goes.
to me. Like, I have, like, Isaac.
I think that's why I take it into Doctor Who because like the Rose Doctor shippers were devastated by that ending.
Well, this goes back to something I experienced with Hobbit fandom, and it involved Thorin. And Thorin dies. Spoiler for a book that was written in 1920s.
I knew that. I actually knew that, and I still haven't seen The Hobbit.
Yeah, so Thorin dies, and it's like you attach yourself to this ship that you know is going to burn and sink and go down
Oh,
like
I
the
love it!
Titanic.
I love
And
it!
it's like,
Keep bringing those.
How do you
yeah,
atta-
keep bringing
like how
those
do you
memories.
how do you get the emotional involvement there even though you know it's just going to rip your heart out and like stamp it into the ground and
Because you're
dance
human.
on it.
Because you're human, and that's what distinguishes us from other species, is that we care, even though we know we shouldn't, because we have the capability to think about it.
I know.
You know?
You feel so bad for your character. Going back to Steven Erikson and homeboy that wrote Song
The
of Ice and Fire.
boringest.
Song of Fire and Ice. I forget it. George R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin.
Wow.
Yeah, you
How
know
many
that
years have you had, dude?
that guy that wrote that book. But like, okay, so you just have these characters, and I don't understand how authors just like, so I'm attached to you, so I'm just going to grind you under my boot. And make
It's
you...
really, really hard, but it makes for really good writing and really good reading, and you know it. And you need to make them suffer in order to make the people care.
And I know, and I will always go back to it. I mean, I love those kinds of stories, but I feel so bad for the characters. I really do. I don't see how someone can constantly do that.
I mean, usually when I'm in that sort of situation, I read it once and I'm like, damn, that was good. And then I never read it again.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so what I feel, because horror very rarely has a happy ending, and from what I've gathered from so far, or everything we've said to right now, not really tonight, but it's that it's okay, but God, I want them to have a happy ending, and I want them to catch a break.
You're such a romantic.
I mean, it's just...
You're the most romantic of us all.
Like, it's just... I mean, okay. Really, I have this... I'm a sucker for being from Texas. I have to work that in tonight.
You have to work that into every
Yeah, like we couldn't
podcast.
tell when you're doing the y'all thing.
Yeah, so...
I don't know, he said homeboy earlier, so...
I'm urban Texas. No.
By the way, guys, I took an accent test today, and it said I was from, like, the Midwest or something. And then it was like, or you could be from, like, Texas, or, sorry. Or you
You're
could
from the
be
Midwest
from,
or Texas.
No, it was like, or you could be from, like, Florida or a big southern city like Atlanta.
Oh my gosh, and you are.
So that's about right.
No, I am, but it was really weird because it was like, if we can't pin you down, then you must be from Florida or a big southern
Oh, I
city.
want to take this test. Yes.
It was on Tumblr. I'll have to, like, send you the link or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I need to. Yeah. Okay.
I took a test and it went right to where I was born and raised.
It was
So
weird because it was...
Jen,
was
was it
weird
the oh my
because-
gosh? Because I can hear it.
Well, I was gonna say this one was interesting because it's like, oh yes, I'm still here. Google was testing me. I passed, I think. It was asking questions like, do you say Dawn, D-A-W-N, and
Yeah.
Dawn, D-O-N?
Oh,
I took one like that.
Oh, I can't distinguish. I say
So-
Dawn and Dawn the same way.
Yeah,
So do I,
say,
and
I
that's
say those
from
the
the
same way.
Northeast.
Yeah, I say those the same way, but then if it's pen and pin, I say those in a different way.
I know.
P-E-N and P-I-N. I say those.
Pin.
Yeah, and if you're my friend that grew up in Fernandina Beach,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is northern Florida, which is right below Georgia, she had pretty much a Georgian accent, and she said it the same way, pin and pin. So, but yeah, it was interesting.
So, yeah. Anyway.
I took a test and I was Lady Edith. I'm just saying.
What?
The Downton test. The Downton test.
I was
Yeah.
Bates.
Oh, of course you were.
I
I
don't
like the
remember
guy who
that.
plays Bates. He always plays like
Oh, North
Oh,
and
man.
South. He's in
Yeah,
North and
I
South.
was
And
gonna
he's,
say.
Really?
But anyway,
Tell us
yeah.
how you really feel.
getting back to what I was saying.
oh, sorry.
No,
Before I
no,
so rudely interrupted you.
it's I forget what I was saying, but
You're
I
talking
mean-
about romance and wanting Dresden to have
I do.
a happy
I feel-
ending and stuff.
like I feel really bad. Like I remember being from Texas. I'm a sucker for a lost cause. Like Alamo, you put me. Guys going to know they're going to die. It's going to be heroic death. You're outnumbered. It's going to end poorly. I'm all for that, but
Who are you typing to? You're like totally
You.
so
ignoring
loudly.
us?
Yeah,
Oh.
for sure.
Sorry. I know.
But
Sorry.
We should mention, in case you haven't watched the first episode, we have a group chat going on here on the sides, so we can communicate with each other. Someone can remind me the name of our show.
but I don't know. It's just something about being with a character for so long that you see them struggle for so long, like Doctor Who, be it a video game with Dead Space or Mass Effect or just anything. You see a character go through the ringer. You really think they've earned their HEA, and you just don't, and it sucks.
Yeah.
I think that's my last note.
Wait, I have one question to ask though. Did House end
I think
the show?
Yeah.
Did it end at all happily? Because that's sort of comparable to what we're talking about.
I don't think so.
I stopped watching. So I was totally on board for many seasons, and then I just stopped.
Cuddy broke his heart romantically speaking.
Who did?
Cuddy. Right?
Yeah.
Oh.
My mom was very sad about that.
Okay.
Because what's her name?
You don't have to hold your hand up because that show is so done. It's not like it's current.
But
don't right? I mean,
it has. But to wrap up,
but some people haven't binged on it.
Whatever.
But to wrap up, why should someone read the Malazan Books of the Fallen? You should read it if you are into nihilism, because there's a lot of that.
I love nihilism.
Well, you would like this. You should read it if you are into sprawling epic fantasies.
Sprawling.
If you like really sprawling, like we're
I'm
talking.
not into that.
You're never going to experience 2 books in a row that follow the same characters.
Wow.
In fact, you're never going to experience 2 chapters in a row that follow the same character.
No way.
And if you play video games, you should play Dead Space because the story is really good. The main character is very sympathetic, and the jump scares make you scared and not want to go to sleep.
Okay. All right. Well.
Awesome.
I'll be looking at both those things right away.
So I think that ends my.
No, but somebody told me not to get into gaming because I would never have any free time ever again, and I think that's probably a good idea.
No. I completely disagree with that. Games are fun, and they are incredibly good stress relief, and they will serve you however much you want to devote to them.
Yeah.
If you're playing for the competitiveness of it, then yes, you're going to sink untold hours into it. I did that with World of Warcraft. I disappeared for 2 years.
Yeah, see, I can't. I already have my fandom stuff. I don't think I can add.
But that's what I'm saying. If you play for the stories of the games, which there are a few people that do, I mean, you can play at your own pace, and it was fine.
All right.
Oh, I'm typing again. I'm sorry.
You are typing again.
You type so loudly.
Apparently, I do.
Google asked me, just asked if I was still there.
So, it was like, are you sleeping?
Yeah, that's the test I had to pass.
And it had a cute little picture of someone sleeping.
Yeah, a little boxy thing,
But that's me, and that's my obsession is horror and romance and how the two get reconciled.
Alrighty, well, then that wraps up part 3 of episode 2. We will be back with the final installment, which will be my obsession, or obsessions, plural, because I'm me. So, until then, have a good day or night. We'll see you soon.
Peace.